When faced with 150,000 enemy troops marching toward your city, what would you do? Hide, fight, surrender? Zhuge Liang did something unthinkable. He opened the gates wide, ordered the streets swept clean, and sat alone on the city wall, playing music. No soldiers, no traps, no clever tricks, just one man, a song, and complete silence. And somehow, the enemy ran away. This is the story of how one of history's greatest strategists saved an entire city with nothing but an empty fortress and a quiet melody. In ancient China, during the chaotic period known as the Three Kingdoms, there lived a man so brilliant that emperors would travel for miles just to seek his counsel. His name was Zhuge Liang. They called him the Sleeping Dragon, a man who could win wars without drawing a sword, predict his enemies' moves before they made them, and turn certain defeat into victory through pure intelligence. He wasn't the strongest general, he didn't command the largest army, but his mind made emperors tremble. In 228 AD, Zhuge Liang made a critical mistake. He had led most of his army far from home on a campaign, leaving his city of Xicheng virtually defenseless. That's when word arrived. Sima Yi, one of the most ruthless generals in Chinese history, was approaching with 150,000 troops. Zhuge Liang looked at his resources, less than 2,000 men, not even enough to man the walls properly. The city would fall within hours if attacked. What Zhuge Liang did next would become legendary. Instead of panicking, he gave the strangest orders. Hide every soldier, open all the city gates, sweep the streets clean, light incense at every corner. And then he did something that seemed absolutely mad. He put on his finest robes, climbed to the highest tower above the city gate, and sat down with his guqin, an ancient Chinese string instrument. As the massive enemy army approached, they heard only one sound echoing across the empty streets, the peaceful notes of Zhuge Liang's melody. General Sima Yi, leading his 150,000 men, had fought Zhuge Liang many times before. He knew him as the Sleeping Dragon, a man who never made simple mistakes. As he watched Zhuge Liang calmly playing music on the wall, his mind raced. Why are the gates wide open? Why is he so calm? Where are his troops? This must be a trap. It has to be. The more he thought, the more his paranoia grew. This was Zhuge Liang, the master of deception. This had to be another one of his brilliant strategies. So Sima Yi made a decision that would haunt him forever. He ordered a full retreat. Here's the brilliant part. There was no trap, no hidden army, no elaborate ambush. The city was exactly as empty as it appeared. Zhuge Liang had played the greatest mind game in military history. He knew that his reputation for brilliant strategies was so strong that Sima Yi would overthink everything. So he turned his greatest weakness, having no soldiers, into his greatest strength. He didn't just create an illusion. He turned his enemy's fear into a weapon. Let's be clear about what was really at stake here. If Sima Yi had attacked that day, the city would have fallen within hours. Zhuge Liang would have been captured and executed. The entire Shu Han dynasty might have crumbled. Instead, he created a fortress out of emptiness, a shield out of silence, and an army out of pure imagination. When Sima Yi later discovered the truth, he was devastated. One of history's most powerful generals had been fooled by a man playing music. But this wasn't just any deception. This strategy became known as the empty fort strategy, and it's still taught in military academies today. Not as a lesson in warfare, but as a masterclass in psychological manipulation. Think about it. Zhuge Liang didn't just predict what his enemy would do. He predicted what his enemy would think. He turned Sima Yi's own intelligence against him. The more Sima Yi analyzed the situation, the more he convinced himself there must be a trap. The very act of thinking became the trap. True power isn't always about who has the biggest army. Sometimes it's about understanding what lives in the minds of others. The greatest victory is the battle you convince your enemy not to fight. This was the starvation siege, when emptiness became a weapon and a single song saved a city.